Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Oluyomi Oladevid's 2015 survey brief on Nigerian prospective voting behaviors. Powered by the Research Policy Shop, her data is literally a fascinating time capsule. We get to look right into the minds of voters teetering on the edge of a historic election. So let's just jump right in. To unpack her findings, we'll quickly run through the 2015 election survey, check out the leading candidate choice, and figure out what drove the voters. Then, we'll dive into the demographics for religion and age, look at the gender divide, and wrap up with a vision for Nigeria. Section 1, the 2015 election survey, setting the stage. Now, Oluyomi Oladevid's own bio actually frames her objective perfectly here. She writes, "I am concerned about global development and transformation. I enjoy generating solutions, influencing policy/strategy, and providing clarity." And clarity is exactly what she brings. She wanted to provide completely impartial insights into how age, gender, and religion really influenced prospective voters across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. She wasn't about speculation at all. She was absolutely dedicated to bringing clarity through hard data. All right, Section 2, the leading candidate choice, APC versus PDP. She discovered this stark, undeniable contrast in her snapshot of prospective voters. Look at this. A massive 74% of her respondents preferred the APC candidate, while just a meager 25% leaned towards the PDP candidate. That is a commanding margin, right? But being the analyst she is, she really wanted to figure out why that gap was quite so wide. Well, the crucial point is summarized right here. The declining popularity of the current administration heavily drove the belief in an APC victory. She actually notes that, completely irrespective of a voter's personal preference, a majority of her respondents believed the APC candidate simply had the better chance of winning. This was directly tied to the incumbent administration losing public favor. For her survey respondents, the writing was pretty much on the wall. Which brings us to Section 3, what drove the voters? Performance versus party. She highlights a crucial finding here, one that totally dismantles common assumptions about blind party loyalty. Get this, only 13% based their choice on affiliated party ideals. On the flip side, an overwhelming 87% based their choice on a personal evaluation of the candidate's desirable characteristics and track record. She found that these voters were not the least bit sentimental. Instead, they were heavily prioritizing tangible performance over abstract party ideals. I really want to let that number sink in for a second. 87%. This single figure represents a massive, pragmatic shift. She found that the vast majority of respondents were driven by performance evaluation rather than just, falling in line with mere political alignment. When almost 9 out of 10 people are looking at the track record of the person rather than the color of the party, well, you're looking at a highly engaged, results-oriented electorate. Moving on to Section 4, religion and age, demographic breakdown. Now, this data tackles a really common narrative in political analysis, polarization. She explicitly points out that these prospective voters were not biased by religious inclination. Literally 100% of the Muslim respondents in her survey were likely to vote for the APC and predicted an APC win. But equally compelling, a large majority of Christian respondents, over 71%, were also likely to vote APC, and over 70% predicted an APC win. So she showed us clear majorities in both Christian and Muslim respondent groups predicting and favoring the exact same outcome. And as we can see here, she also found incredible consistency across age groups. 83.3% of the youth under 45 intended to vote APC, and an incredibly close 80% of the elderly intended the exact same thing. Now, while the younger demographic was slightly more confident in predicting an outright win, she proved that both generations overwhelmingly intended to cast their prospective votes for the same party. Basically, age simply wasn't fracturing voter intent. Okay, Section 5, the gender divide, male versus female voters. Here, we finally do see a slight divergence in the data. While both groups still strongly favored the APC candidate in our survey, she observed a modest gender divide. Male respondents were slightly more likely to vote for the APC at 76.5% compared to female respondents at 65.2%. It's definitely a noticeable gap that she highlights, but the overarching narrative holds true, right? A commanding majority in both demographics favoring one direction, based entirely on that performance evaluation we just talked about. Finally, Section 6, a vision for Nigeria, looking forward. I think this quote captures the true heart behind her research. She writes, "I have a dream that governance in Nigeria will from now on be hinged on the ideals of integrity and meritocracy, as well as a commitment to the advancement of our collective interests." In this concluding section of her brief, she beautifully transitions from an impartial data reporter to a deeply hopeful citizen. She expresses an earnest desire that the outcome of this election, driven by voters who clearly cared about performance over sentiment, would move Nigeria forward in peace and progress. So as we wrap up this explainer, we want to leave you with her very powerful question to ponder. Will the ideals of integrity and meritocracy actually drive the future of governance? The data she meticulously collected showed a non-sentimental, heavily performance-driven voter base that looked right past party lines, religious lines, and generational lines to demand something better. It really makes you wonder, what is the true power of the non-sentimental voter? Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.